Are the Game Changer videos done? Is it safe to post videos again? So we finally got the Sith raid unleashed, and everybody's going into it, everybody's going crazy. You've got people releasing videos left and right of what you can do. Let's just go ahead and break down Phase 1 as a whole. Let's talk about the mechanics for it. We'll start out with the mechanics. We'll talk about what teams do and don't work. And then we'll go through a quick run. I'll show a raid run that I did earlier where I used Jedi Ray and did about 4 million damage. I kind of messed up some things. I didn't use some abilities at the right time. So you're not going to see as much damage as you'll see in other fights. But we'll just give you a quick run of what goes on in the fight. So just so you guys can see what you need to do for these teams, what teams will and won't work, and just for yourself what you can do to master Phase 1. So let's go ahead and get into the mechanics of this fight, and then we will go from there. So with Phase 1, you're going to have a special ability called Unbreakable Will. And what this allows you to do is whenever this character uses Unbreakable Will, they cannot die. They always get reduced to 1 health, and they basically taunt. They have minus 10% speed, and their turn meter can't be modified. So basically, you're going to use this whenever Darth Nihilus has his Annihilate up and ready to go. Have a character use Unbreakable Will. Darth Nihilus will annihilate them, but they will not die. They'll get down to 1 health. Darth Nihilus will keep hitting on them. They won't die no matter what you do. So keep using that whenever Annihilate is up. For Darth Nihilus, his kit, you've seen it before. Ceaseless Craving, that's his basic attack. He will dispel buffs on the target enemy, but then he gains those buffs. So be very careful of this. If you have a bunch of offense up, crit chance, crit damage from BB-8, and Nihilus uses basic, he's going to steal all those buffs for himself, and he's going to do a lot of damage. So keep that in mind when you're timing your buffs correctly. Be careful in making sure that you don't give someone all these buffs just to have Nihilus steal them, because then he's going to hit like a truck. With this attack as well, whenever he steals buffs, he's going to reduce the cooldown on Drain Force and also Annihilate by 1 for every time he steals buffs. So keep that in mind. For Drain Force, just like his usual kit, he does AoE damage to everybody. If they have debuffs on them, he increases their cooldown and then decreases the cooldown of Annihilate by 1. Annihilate instantly defeats the target enemy. They can't be revived. If he successfully kills someone, he gains offense, defense, and speed equal to 30% of the target stats. So you need to make sure no one dies to Annihilate, because then that's going to give him base stat boost that you can't destroy, you can't take away. So you can't evade it. It starts on cooldown. Do not let anybody die from this. Use the Unbreakable Will to make sure that you don't let anybody die. Finally, he has Feed the Void, where he summons 2 minions, a Sith Marauder and a Sith Assassin. They take damage equal to 5% of his max protection, and then for each ally damaged this way, he recovers twice as much protection. So making sure you get the allies killed before he uses this ability is going to be great, because once he starts regenerating that protection, he's going to be able to heal himself back up, and you're not going to do as much damage as you've seen with some of these damage amounts for these teams. For Lord of Hunger, he recovers 3% protection for each buffed enemy, so keep that in mind as well. That's the start of each of his turns, so 5 buffed allies for you is 15% protection for him. Whenever someone damages Nihilus with a basic attack, they get defense down inflicted on them for 1 turn. If they already have defense down, they will lose 25% protection, and Nihilus gains that much for his own. So your characters are going to hurt themselves, and they're just going to heal up Nihilus. So a lot of characters using basic attacks, not going to work here too well. Finally, Darkness, in which all life dies. He's immune to Tenacity down. This is the big change for these raids. Immunity to Tenacity down, he can no longer be affected by it, which means you're not going to get that huge turn meter reduction buffs from your team to him. You're not going to be able to get Commander Luke Skywalker to basically shut him down. He gains 30 speed and 50% tenacity stacking for every time he takes damage. So he's going to start going really fast. He's going to gain a lot of tenacity. You're not going to be able to do a lot of turn meter reduction. So those teams that rely on a lot of debuffs, like Darth Vader and Wampa, they'll get some dots out at the beginning, but eventually they're not going to be able to hit them anymore. And then finally, you have his Fearsome Foe, which is your basic unit ability for your raid bosses. He has the 5% turn meter whenever he takes damage. He has the +1 bonus action. He's immune to stun, shock, ability block, daze, stagger, health down, cooldown increase, and massive damage effects. Just like your normal raid bosses. So nothing new there. And after 15 turns, he becomes enraged and starts dealing a ton of damage. For Sith Assassin and Sith Marauder, they're basically the same abilities that you have now. The only real big change is that with Sith Marauder, his special ability will inflict daze, and then he can also inflict bonus health damage. And then he also reduces the health by 10% for each damage dealt by his attacks. So taking care of Sith Marauder and Sith Assassin, really important really quickly. You should be doing that anyways. Get rid of them because Sith Assassin will really boost turn meter, buff up the team, and Sith Marauder can really destroy the health for your team as well. So those are the abilities for your team for Darth Nihilus in Phase 1. It looks intimidating. And, you know, this is all made so that we don't have these characters who can solo an entire phase anymore. Until we get some massively OP character like we did with Commander Luke Skywalker, we're not going to see raid solos for quite a while. So, looking at teams that don't do so well, we've got your Phoenix Squad here, which does pitiful amounts of damage. I mean, this is bad. And this is because of the defense down applied through basic attacks against Darth Nihilus. And what happens here is you'll see this as a common recurring theme for all these teams that do bad, is because whenever an ally uses a basic attack against Darth Nihilus, they get defense down inflicted on them. And then if they have defense down on them already, it then causes Nihilus to regenerate 3% of his max protection. And because teams that use a lot of assists, teams that use a lot of counters, anything like that, they're going to be using a lot of basic attacks, which means a lot of defense down on them, which then means a lot of protection regeneration. So Phoenix Squad, Imperial Troopers, Clone Troopers, Princess Zodi, any of those teams that do a lot of assist attacks, no go. Your Admiral Akbar with the Han Solo and Commander Luke Skywalker, BB-8 Hermit Yoda, you don't want to do those either. It's going to cause a lot of protection regeneration, so you don't want to use those kinds of teams in here. So anything that does a lot of spammy attacks, no go. So those don't work so well, but in terms of what teams do work well, we've got teams like Jedi Rey, Night Sisters. I've seen Darth Vader Zeta with Wampa in there. There's a bunch of different teams that work well, and Jedi Rey seems to be the main team that works really well in Phase 1, and it's because of the exposed damage. Right now on Tier 6, exposes are doing about 54,000 damage each time. That is a lot. Do not expect that to carry over into Heroic. Heroic raids usually have a lot less damage, so you're not going to see huge bumps in damage numbers from exposes and Heroic raids. But right now for Tier 6, to get you over that hump, Jedi raid teams seem to be your best team that you can use in Phase 1. Night Sisters also work really well. They can do a lot of special attacks, they inflict Plague, and Plague does about 10 to 15,000 damage per stack. So Darth Nihilus is going to get a lot of damage from those Plague attacks as well. So using a Zeta Talzin lead will really work well. Using those specials from Night Sister stack up that Plague. That's something else you can really use here. And then also, I've seen Zeta and the Wampa, you know, with all those dots going out. You're not going to get a lot of dots in because Darth Nihilus gains stacking tenacity every time he takes damage. But when you can get those dots in, it's really going to do well. Plus, the Zeta Vader lead is going to allow for turn meter reduction that can't be resisted. And you can use the same thing here with Zeta Asajj. If you have a Zeta Asajj, you can use her with Night Sisters. That can also do turn meter reduction. But keep in mind that Nihilus gains 30 speed each time he takes damage. So quickly he's going to really start stacking up that speed, and you're going to end up not doing a lot of damage. Eventually he's just going to go so fast you can't reduce his turn meter in time. So you do have your turn meter reduction teams, you do have your exposed teams. Jyn, also, she can work okay. Your Rogue One teams with all their exposes does the same thing. Cassian's going to be an MVP here. He can throw out all those EMP grenade debuffs and really do a lot of exposes, but there is some RNG there, so keep that in mind. So those are your good teams. Those are your bad teams. Let's just go over my personal recommendations and teams I recommend you guys use. In terms of Jedi Rey is obviously the best, but not a lot of people have Jedi Rey, and you know that's because veteran smugglers Han and Chewie, they're terrible characters, no one wants to farm them. But if you do have Jedi Rey, use her in Phase 1. There are some issues with her in Phase 3 where she's bugging out and doing like 80 million damage, but I do not expect that to last long. I don't think that team is going to last long because there's turn meter reduction going on in the topples, and Traya is supposed to be immune to turn meter reduction while she's toppled, so do not expect those teams to last very long. I'm sure CG is going to patch that within the next week or two. In fact, by the time this video goes up, they'll probably already have it fixed. Now, other teams, Night Sisters, like I said, Darth Vader and the Wampa. Now, Wampa is not exactly a character a lot of people have. Like with the Jedi raid teams, I've seen Hermit Yoda in there as well. Wampa and Hermit Yoda, they're really good characters. They can spread out that foresight, and foresight's a very big deal in Phase 1 because it allows you to evade the Force Drain from Nihilus. So with this, we're going to be taking a quick look at some footage. I'll narrate over this. This footage comes from I Hold Grudge. There's going to be a link to his channel down below. Big thank you to him for allowing me to use this footage, so I can just show you guys some footage so you guys can see what's going on in this raid. He will not use the special Unbreakable Will to avoid deaths from Annihilate, so you won't be able to see that firsthand, but you'll notice over Jedi Training Rey right now, there is a blue icon, a shield, and this gives her the special ability to have Unbreakable Will, and what this means is that she can't be reduced below 1% health, and that she can't be killed. She's basically Force Taunt, so Nihilus can only attack her. But what this means is, of course, you want to use this for when Annihilate comes off cooldown, and with that, the target with the Unbreakable Will not be able to get killed. You won't lose that character, you won't get the bonus stats on Darth Nihilus like we covered in the raid mechanics. So with this, you can see that he's getting exposed on Darth Nihilus. He's using some basic attacks he really shouldn't be, but with those basic attacks, you're noticing that those characters are getting defense down, and if you watch closely, sometimes you'll see protection regeneration on Darth Nihilus, and then this means that you're not going to be dealing as much damage to him like we've covered with your Phoenix Squad, Princess Zodi. Your characters do a lot of basic attacks, won't be able to do a lot of damage. So you'll see here in a moment that he is going to Force Drain, and he is going to get the last 2 turns off of the cooldown for Annihilate, and then he is going to Annihilate Resistance Trooper. At this point, once you get the cooldown for Annihilate down to about 2 turns, you want to have someone go ahead and pop the Unbreakable Will, because at that point, Darth Nihilus is going to annihilate someone, and then you're going to lose that character unless they have the Unbreakable Will, like I said. So there you go. Resistance Trooper is now gone, and that means those bonus stats for Darth Nihilus. So once you get those cooldowns really short for Annihilate, that's when you want to pop the Unbreakable Will. He'll lose another character here in a little bit, so you guys can see, again, what not to do with this, but you know, he still does 4.4 million damage with this team, even with losing his characters to the Annihilate. So, still really impressive. There's a lot of damage that you're exposed to. So, even when you do things wrong with this team, you're still going to do a lot of damage going. You're still going to have a lot of damage going on. I've seen upwards of 11, 12 million with Jedi raid teams in the Phase 1 for this raid so far. So, you know, this is just a quick little preview of what's going on in this raid, so you guys can see what's going on here. You can see that he stole all those buffs from Scavenger Rey, so now he's got offense up, crit chance, crit damage, and then Jedi Training Rey just stripped them all away. Also, with Jedi Training Rey, she has the unresistible turn meter removal, so you'll see sometimes that Darth Nihilus loses turn meter because he has the turn meter that gets removed from Jedi Training Rey with her Zeta lead. Whenever an ally uses a special against an exposed enemy, they lose 5% turn meter, and then her Mind Tricks ability has unresistible turn meter on it. So with those buffs on, with the stacking tenacity on Darth Nihilus, he's going to be able to resist those abilities, and you can see we just lost Jedi Training Rey there, but with the stacking tenacity, he's going to resist the debuffs from the Mind Tricks, but he's still going to do a lot of damage, or he's still going to lose all that turn meter from it because it cannot be resisted, even with the stacking tenacity. So here you've seen some of the mechanics for the raid, you've seen this team do 4.4 million, so you guys get a good grasp of what a run will look like, and you guys can see some first-hand experience of just what to do. So that is pretty much it for this video, guys. If you all have any questions or comments, feel free to ask down below. I will be doing one video for each separate phase, giving out tips and tricks, different team compositions that seem to and do not work. I'm hoping to help you guys master the phases for yourselves, so you guys can get out there, help your guilds clear them, get those awesome Darth Traya shards, because she looks fantastic. So I'm hoping that these videos are going to help you guys out. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. To all of my mech minions out there, thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.